It is one of the most valuable and coveted gemstones in the world. Every year Colombia produces around 400 kilos of emeralds, and the United States alone consumes more than 200 kilos to meet this huge demand. Miners face a very difficult task trying to find emeralds in tons of rock. But how is the most beautiful and famous gem on the planet extracted? We visited one of the largest mines in Colombia to discover how emeralds are taken from the earth. In the heart of Colombia lies the largest emerald mine on the planet. Hidden deep in the eastern mountain range of the Andes, among suffocating tunnels carved into the rock. For more than 500 years a buried treasure has lain there. The traces of an ancient ocean floor that holds within it some of the most valuable and coveted gemstones in the world. Dazzling green gems that stir strong emotions and greed. Extremely hard crystals that at the same time are easy to break and that throughout history have provoked bloody clashes for survival and supremacy. Millions of years ago, tectonic forces lifted the mountains from the primordial seas. The sedimentary rocks subjected to great pressure fractured, creating cracks and deep cavities through which very hot groundwater, loaded with dissolved minerals, could flow. The overheated water that circulated through the cracks carried chemical elements such as beryllium, chromium, and vanadium, essential for the formation of emerald. When the temperature and pressure conditions were right, these elements combined and slowly crystallized, forming the characteristic green emerald crystals. Within the rocks, the abundant percentage of pyrite known as fool's gold keeps iron away from the developing crystals, allowing the emerald's green color to be intense and giving the gem an exceptional shine. In this remote region, in the very heart of Colombia, rises the true empire of emeralds. With barely 10,000 inhabitants, the Muso region produces some of the purest gems. Located about 140 kilometers from Bogota, the journey to Muso can take up to 7 hours by road. The city is surrounded by dozens of mines, and from them comes about 75% of the emeralds traded worldwide. The Muso mine permanently employs about 930 people. Miners face a very difficult task trying to find emeralds in tons of rock. At 7 o'clock mining begins. It is a descent into hell. Every day workers enter a tunnel that leads to a narrow hole known as clavado with a depth of about 40 meters. The tunnel runs through the mountain rock for nearly a kilometer, and the passage is barely 1 meter wide. The heat is suffocating and oxygen is scarce. At the bottom of the mine, dust irritates the workers' lungs. The temperature at the bottom of the tunnel can reach 113 degrees Fahrenheit, a consequence of the geothermal gradient that causes a progressive increase in heat as you go deeper underground. Despite ventilation, the air is dense and hard to breathe. The dust generated by pneumatic hammers constantly coats the miners' faces and bodies. Each team remains at the bottom for about 8 hours, alternating with 2 other groups. The mine's activity never stops. The work is continuous, relentless, and demanding. The search begins with the identification of mineral veins. Miners look for signs such as white veins of calcite and dolomite that indicate the presence of emeralds. Once a promising vein is located, drilling is done to confirm the location and depth of the gems. Danger is always present. Working conditions are extreme, harsh, and demand constant effort. Miners receive a fixed salary of about $100 a month, while most of their income depends on commissions calculated according to the emeralds they manage to extract. But 4 months have passed without finding a single stone, so they hope this time the mine will be generous. It is time to resort to drastic measures. Several holes are drilled in the rock using a giant drill. Then a cylinder filled with dynamite is inserted. The miners press the charge firmly against the bottom of a hole and add some cardboard to compact it. If it is not well compacted, the dynamite will not detonate. Pressure is the decisive factor that causes the explosion. Then they carefully strip the wires and connect them to the detonator. The explosion is so powerful that everyone must open their mouths to decompress and avoid possible internal damage. With each detonation, they expect to fracture about 24 inches of rock in just a few seconds. After the blast, the miners examine each fragment carefully in search of any green trace that indicates the presence of emerald. After several hours of intense work, they manage to extract small stones. Next, the miners remove the rock and earth fragments. Tons of material are extracted gradually. Each loaded cart weighs close to 500 kilos, making the task a constant and demanding physical effort. Once on the surface, the earth is carefully washed to check if emeralds are hidden among it. With patience, the first gemstones begin to appear, small, shiny, and intensely green, tiny stones but of incalculable value. At the end of the day, a truck arrives to collect the debris. For the mine owner, they are nothing but waste. For others, they could mean a real treasure. Hundreds of people begin to gather at the site. They are called Wakeros, treasure hunters who search among the debris for the chance to find an emerald capable of changing their lives. 5 trucks unload their contents on each side of the road, and no one dares move until the last vehicle empties its load. As soon as the final container finishes opening, the race begins. There is no time for jokes or distractions. The only priority is to fill the bags as quickly as possible. In a matter of minutes, the material disappears. Then the second stage of the work begins. Washing and filtering the gravel in hopes of finding in it a tiny green stone. Among the crowd, a Wakero discovers a small emerald, as tradition dictates. He immediately hides it in his mouth to make sure it is not lost. Once the harvest is over, business begins. The profit for buyers is simple. They can take advantage of poverty and buy at the lowest prices. A Wakero offers 2 small emeralds for just $15, but they will be worth hundreds of dollars in jewelry. Once set in a ring or necklace, the larger stones have a different destiny. They are reserved for the most important emerald auction of the year in Colombia, where the main traders gather. No international transfers or checks. In the emerald business, cash is king. The event takes place under strict security measures. Armed guards watch every corner, aware that the slightest dispute could unleash chaos. Buyers inspect each gem in detail. These emeralds are among the most beautiful in the world. They will end up in the hands of the biggest jewelers or wealthy businessmen in New York. The auction extends throughout the night. At the close, 1.5 kilos of emeralds reach a price of $2.5 million. Once cut and polished, those same stones can triple their value in the international market. Every year, Colombia exports around $150 million in emeralds. One of the main buyers is the United States. When an emerald is distributed to a jewelry store in the United States, it has quadrupled its price or more. The average value per carat ranges between $5,000 and $40,000, depending on its quality and purity. When cutting an emerald, impurities are removed and the aim is to minimize weight loss. First, the stone is cut with a saw to give it its basic shape. Then the facets are carefully defined with a precision wheel. Each gem holds a hidden brilliance that only a master cutter can reveal. However, the stone's owner knows that up to 70% of the original material can be lost to obtain the best jewel inside. The sacrifice is worth it. The cut stone gains in quality and value. A clear example is this 40-carat emerald that after the process loses 60% of its weight. The final result is a superior quality 16-carat gem whose market price can reach $500,000. Like the video if you enjoyed it and share it with someone else who might be interested. Also, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications to keep learning.